April Spectrum, and this week's video is about stimming, or self-stimulation, by request. I'm really trying to train myself to not say anymore. So, before I start in on stim-related stuff, I want to remind you that I will post polls in my Twitter, so if you want to request something, you can do it there. Of course, you can always do it in the comments. Alright, stimming. I should start out by saying I've tried to record this several times, and I've messed it up so badly that I've had to just scrap it and start over, so I'm a little bit frustrated. And I'm going to have a hard time remembering what things I've covered and haven't. Stimming is short for self-stimulation. It is any form of stimulation provided to the self, either for the brain or for the body. Let's go ahead and address the elephant in the room. Does masturbation count as a stim? Yes, it does. Is that what someone means when they talk about stimming? No, most of the time it is not. So, one of the things I want to do is talk about my stims, but before I do that, I want to talk about why people stim, who stims, and etc. Stimming is most commonly seen among people with mental disabilities, mental illness, or mental challenges. That's not because we're the only ones who do it, it's because we're the only ones who are diagnosed as doing it. I'll give you an example. You're at work in the office, and you're thinking about this email you have to write to your boss, and so you grab your pen and you just start clicking it, and you're like, no, Jerry is going to be so mad that the TPS reports, blah, blah, whatever. I don't care. Point is, you're clicking that pen as a stim. And if you're doing that particular stim in that particular context, it's normal. Because as we all know, normal just means the majority of us are doing this. Okay, so everybody stims. And it's not just a human behavior either, animals stim too. A good example is parrots pull out their feathers when they're bored. Cats kill mice when they're bored. Your dog destroys your house because you left home without permission. Things like that. The difference is that people with autism and people with other mental disorders or disabilities don't have the same inhibitions as neurotypical people do. We don't learn socially that some things are just not okay. Or if we do learn them, we don't learn the lesson as thoroughly or as universally. And so we tend to exhibit non-typical behaviors in order to satisfy our needs for stimulation, whether that is mental stimulation because we're bored, physical stimulation, or what have you. So that kind of covers who and why. When is basically any time. Some people will stim absolutely anytime, anywhere. I remember hearing a news story about a guy who was caught masturbating at McDonald's. That's a very extreme case, and he was not autistic. He was addicted to drugs or something. But he had no qualms about doing what he felt like he needed to do where he happened to be when the feeling hit him. That isn't always the case. Some people will, at the opportune moment, some people will stim at set particular times during the day, and I suppose now is a good time to tell people, if you are the parent of an autistic child and you are concerned about your autistic child's stimming behaviors, set up a stim routine. This is really cool. You set up a particular time that is stim time, where they go to their room and they stim. It's actually that simple. It just takes a lot of follow through to build the habit. That's who, what, where, when, how. Everybody stims differently. It's sometimes really mundane things like clicking a pen, sometimes really elaborate things, sometimes really annoying things like flipping lights on and off, sometimes really innocuous things like that you wouldn't even notice. So without further ado, I'm going to show you all of my stims. But before I do that, I'm actually going to pause this video and load this video so that that video will have adequate sound quality. I'm back! Okay, so my stims. I'm going to go head to toe. I've done this 3 or 4 times already, and hopefully this time it'll be a good take. The first stim I'm going to show you is to do with my hair. I like to mess with my hair so much. I used to have long hair, actually, and when I was a kid, I wasn't allowed to cut it. My parents had beliefs about cutting hair, and it's part of why my hair is so short now. I never brushed my own hair as a kid. I couldn't. It was too long for me to brush. Like, I'd get to the end of my arm, and there'd still be, like, so much hair left that Anyways, so I love having short hair, and I love brushing my hair, and I love fluffing my hair, and I love moving my hair all over like crazy. I love it! And as a consequence, I tend to have very messy hair. Incredibly messy hair. And keeping it short helps me to deal with that. And it also helps keep me from tying it in knots, because I would grab a little from the back, curl it up, and then I would tie it in a knot and yoink it straight down, and then I'd forget about it, and I'd get home from work and I'd go to brush my hair, and there would be literally knots tied in my hair. It was crazy. So that's one. I like to pull on things. The number one thing that I pull on is my lower lip. I'll just pull this all over the place. I will twist it open. I will literally pull it to the point that it's so dry it goes numb. And I don't know why I do that, actually. I just do. I'll pull on my cheeks, I'll pull on my eyebrows, I'll pull on my eyelids, I'll pull on my eyelashes, I'll pull on my ears, I'll pull the skin below my throat, the skin on my hands, my wrist, literally any place that there is something on my body that I can grab onto, I will pull it. And I will pull on my clothes, I'll pull on my sleeves, I'll pull on my collar, I'll pull on the bottom hem, I'll pull on my pant legs. If I can grab it, I will pull it. It's my stim. Another thing that I do is I like to tap things. So I'll tap my fingers on the desk. I'll tap my fingers on various parts of me. Anywhere I can feel a bone, I'll bonk it with my fingers. I also will knock on my chest, sort of like a second heartbeat, when I'm really extremely nervous or scared. This actually helps calm me down a lot, and this is the thing that I would do the most before I got Jet. Speaking of, my other dog, Bagel, is whining because he wants out. He hears me talking, he's like, oh, something interesting must be happening. You're wrong, Bagel. It's not. I like to, right here is my collarbone, and I like to hunch like that, so that sticks out, curl my fingers under it, and then straighten flat until it pushes my fingers back out. Don't ask me why. I know it's weird. In a similar note, I like to, where my ribs are, curl my fingers under my ribs, and then straighten up until my fingers get pushed out. Or sometimes I'll just grab onto my ribs and hold on to them for prolonged periods of time, which is really weird. While we're speaking of grabbing things, I like to grab onto my boobs. I don't really know how to describe the feeling. It's a bit like getting a really nice hug, and it's a bit like when you go to the beach and you find a rock that just fits in your hand perfectly and it's warm. That's the best I can do for that. I really enjoy that, and I am trying to teach myself not to do that one because I tend to do that one a lot, and it leads to some really odd conversations in the grocery store when you're walking around like, do I want chicken or do I want pork? And people are like, why are you like this? I like to, over the top of my shirt, feel, there's sort of like that center line in the belly. I like to push on that and feel it. I will also do the zipper thing if I'm wearing a sweatshirt where I'll just like zip up and down that line. I like to poke in my belly button. Do that sometimes. The line where my pants are, I scratch there, and there have been times where I've made myself bleed, though not super often. I scratch the back of my knees. I scratch my inner thigh, and as a kid, I often made myself bleed scratching my inner thigh because it's sort of, there's like the little chafe point, and the irritation would get so bad that I would literally cut myself open scratching it, and I would even do it in my sleep. Front of the knees and back of the knees. There's a thing that people do, normal people do, where if this is your foot, you kind of curl your toes in like this. I also do the thing of like scritching my toes up. I don't really know the word for that, but that's one of my stims where I'll just like, I'll try to stretch them up as high as I can and as far apart as I can, and just, oh, it feels good. It's weird. Pulling the flesh away from the fingernail on my finger, and then sometimes also taking my other fingernail and flipping it under and kind of pushing up is one. A whole lot of weird stuff. Grabbing my own bottom through my pants pockets. I like to. It's like, it's thick. And it's a stim that I do where if I'm feeling socially uncomfortable, I'll stick my hands in my back pocket and I'll start grabbing my buttocks. Which, logically speaking, is a terrible thing to do in that situation because it's not going to make you more comfortable and it's not going to make you more sociable. But it is what it is. I can't really think of any others offhand, but those kind of give you a good idea of a variety of stims that someone may have, and they give you a good idea of why they can be troublesome, because there are a lot of things in that list that you just straight up can't do in public without getting weird looks and possibly the cops called on you. So that has been my incredibly long video about stimming. If you have questions, of course, leave them in the comments. You can also just have random comments left in the comments, too. Like my video, share my video, follow me, subscribe, whatever you call it. And also, get on Twitter. I like to post a poll about possible video topics, and you can vote, and then my next video will be something you want to see. See, it's a win-win. If I win because I get followers and people interacting with me, and you win because my video is something you actually want to see. Anyways, there it is. I'm April Spectrum.